Hey, good afternoon. This is Sheila, and I just wanted to pop in and share with you something that's on my heart. A question that I'm always asked is, how do I support my loved one? How do I support him, while he's in prison and after he's released? And so the question was just like coming back to back to back to back. So I sit down and I was talking to Kevin, and I was, Kevin, honey, that this question is popping up so often, and he said support is not a one size fit all. And that right there, I'm like, I never even thought about it like that. And he said, babe, support is not a one size fit all. And it makes a lot of sense because what one person needs, the next person may not need. The traumatic experience that this person has had in prison, perhaps that this person has not had that uh, traumatic experience. So it makes sense that support is not a one size fit all, but what is a common denominator and what is a question that you have to ask yourself is your glass full enough to support him? And what I mean about that is this: he's in prison, and 9 times out of 10, he's broken. And so, if you have a glass, if your glass is half full, and you begin to pour into him and it's seeping out because he's broken, eventually your glass will become empty and you can no longer pour into him. And so, where does that leave you? That leaves you in a state of depression. Okay? That's if your glass is half full and you're trying to pour into him. A cracked glass. Okay? So say your glass is not half full, but your glass is full. Okay? So you're pouring into him, and he has a cracked glass. He's in prison. 9 times out of 10, he's broken. With your full glass, you continue to pour into him and pour into him and pour into him. Then that glass will become empty as well. So where does that leave you? That leaves you in a state of depression. I'm telling you. Okay, so this is the deal. Only if your glass is overflowing, it's in overflow, can you continue to pour into him, and it will not take you to that state of depression. Wow. I'm trying to tell you, you cannot effectively support him unless you are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually strong enough. You can't. So, to that question, my answer will be you cannot effectively support him unless your life is in overflow. And this is the deal. If you are serving him from a glass that's overflowing, then what you are serving him will eventually uh, appear in his life. So it is with Kevin and I. When Kevin and I were going through what we were going through, I have no doubt it buckled me. It didn't break me. And I have no doubt that the reason it did not break me is because of a foundation that I had with personal development. Personal development is huge. It's huge when it comes to supporting someone in prison. You got to know who you are. You have to have your non-negotiables in line. You have to know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. You have to be able to set boundaries and guardrails up. And if you don't have that personal development, and you do not have those systems and those processes and procedures, it sounds like a business, it sounds like a company. But if you don't have something like that in place, you're not going to be able to support him. So I would start there. If I had not had that foundation when Kevin and I was going through what we was going through, 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't be here today because I wouldn't have been able to deal with this. But because I had personal development and my glass was overflowing, it began to overflow into my husband's life. And now our marriage is healthier than it has ever been. So that would be my answer to your question. The first thing you're going to have to do before you can effectively support him is just make sure that your glass is full. No. Make sure your glass is overflowing. All right? All right. Thank you for listening.